Mover Nation, we are really milking our New Year's intro. But I want to say welcome back. Today we are diving into one of the most shocking stories to begin this new year, a tragic incident that shook the nation on New Year's Day. The Tesla Cybertruck explosion outside the Trump International Hotel on the Las Vegas Strip. Now, this was no random act of terror, but a deeply personal and calculated message from a man in pain. U.S. Army Master Sgt. Matthew Livelsberger. His story, though heartbreaking, sheds the light on the many struggles that many veterans face with PTSD, trauma, and reintegration into civilian life. Joining me today to unravel the complexities of this case and discuss the broader implications of PTSD amongst veterans is the esteemed Dr. Roger Rhoades. Together, we're going to explore the intersection of the personal tragedy, the societal pressures that these veterans face, and the urgent need for mental health reform. Now, side note, this story is deeply personal to me in a way that I never really realized. Matthew Livelsberger went to high school 5 miles from where I grew up in Bucyrus, Ohio. I grew up in Ontario, go Warriors. When I found that out, I was really broken that someone like him could feel so hopeless that they could do something like this to themselves. On that note, I'm Collier Landry. Let's get into it.
Testimony continued today in the most notorious criminal trial in Dr. John Boyle is accused of killing his wife, Maureen.
The boy confidently told the jury it was his decision to testify against his father.
I heard a scream. I heard a thud. It's about this loud.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
I decided at an early age that our trauma should not be what defines us. It's what we choose to do with it that does. I'm here to share my unique perspective on true crime, mental health, society, and popular culture, and always with a slight sense of humor. I'm Collier Landry, and welcome to my show. Live from Santa Monica, California, Mover Nation, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Wherever you may be and however you may be watching or listening, thanks for making me a part of your day. As I said, we're going to get into this case with Matthew Livelsberger. It's something many of you have asked me before, and my opinion of. And as I said, I found out recently that he graduated high school from 5 miles where I grew up. Now, I'm sure my parents will correct me and be like, no, it was like 7 miles. But Ontario and Bucyrus were rivals. Growing up, we used to play them all the time. So, yeah, it's very deeply personal to me. Sorry, I just had to run down and make sure Marisol turned off her toy. I'm going to bring on Dr. Roger Rhoades in a second, but I want to, this notion of complex PTSD, and this is Matthew Livelsberger here. This is a picture of him in active duty, I believe. This is the Cybertruck explosion that occurred outside the Trump Hotel on the Las Vegas Strip. There's the explosives that were there, and just to give you guys a little bit of a recap on this. So the Tesla Cybertruck was filled with fireworks and gas canisters, and he was a decorated Green Beret with multiple deployments in Afghanistan and a recipient of numerous accommodations and in I believe also 4 or 5 Bronze Stars. He had also left letters on his phone describing that this act was a wake-up call for the country's ills. And I don't want to misquote the man posthumously, but I believe what he said is, I needed to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burden of the lives I've took. Now, my director from A Murder in Mansfield, Barbara Koppel, recently did a film many years ago, and I will pull her up, did a film called Shelter, which was about homeless veterans in the United States. Why those two words come together is beyond me, but it is something that I've wanted to talk about for a long time. Look, I live in Santa Monica. There are a lot of homeless people here, as there are across the United States, but why our veterans and service members are mistreated, not treated for mental health and wellness. and are come back from active duty and are not given a way of life or reintegrated into a society and to deal with their complex PTSD that they suffer while in combat is beyond me. Something that I think is interesting is when we as a society, and especially in the film and entertainment industry, begin to sort of acknowledge this in a sort of like a subtle kind of way, right? And I don't know if any of you have seen Apple TV's show Shrinking, which stars Jason Segel and Harrison Ford, and they play therapists on the show. Jason Segel works for Harrison Ford, who is his mentor. One of the subjects of the show in both seasons now, this is in the second season here on Apple TV, it just finished, is a character named Sean. Sean is an Afghanistan war vet, and he suffers from PTSD. He is forced to join the practice and seek the help of Jason Segel's character, Jimmy, the therapist, because he's gotten himself in numerous bar fights and numerous attacks, and has attacked people because he is dealing with his PTSD from combat. He becomes triggered throughout the show because of his father and his relationship of, and in the second season, spoiler alert, he's given his medals by his father, and that is something that sets him off to a point where he does not commit an act of violence, but he approaches men of violence and allows them to beat him up. So again, it's interesting when, as a social commentary, when we begin to use art to make a commentary on this and this situation that is going on in this country, and have this be a central character that is a focus of this show, which is, by the way, very well done. I cannot praise it highly enough. It is well acted. It is well written. It is well shot. You should check it out if you have Apple TV. It is fabulous. And Harrison Ford's in it. Come on. That's why you gotta watch it. Han Solo and Indiana Jones is in it. Come on. But in all seriousness, when we begin to bring these things out in the mainstream and have these conversations, I think it's really key. And on that note of Shrinking, I am going to bring on friend of the show, Dr. Roger Rhoades, a psychologist, and we are going to discuss things like complex PTSD and veterans affairs and things of that nature. Please welcome to the program, Dr. Roger Rhoades. Roger.
Good to be part of the program. Very, very, very important subject to cover. I mean, if Harrison Ford's covering it, we need to cover it too.
Right. Yeah, man. It's good to have you. You know, we had a discussion before the show started, kind of going over a little bit of a game plan on how to approach this, because it is a very sensitive subject. There are, I know people who are in the audience watching who are either married to serve, active duty military, or veterans, or themselves veterans who have served our country bravely. And, so I want to approach it with the sensitivity, but we do have to look at the serious nature of this. And I guess, for our audience, since I always say I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a psychologist, I do not work in law enforcement, I'm just a guy who's been through a lot of shit. For our audience, can you sort of describe what complex PTSD is, or PTSD is?
Okay. We as human beings operate in a structure, and that's how we take information and we put it in little boxes to make it make sense. Okay. So when we are fractured in that situations fracture our ability to put it into boxes, we then lose in that process a deep element of coping. And so people with severe PTSD have really lost that ability to take what would be considered regular functioning issues and work through them. They're overwhelmed, and they tell themselves they're unable to cope with what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who has suffered from obviously complex PTSD, given what I've been through in my life,
Right.
I mean, I understand.
Right, and now that's good for people to hear, because you don't have to go to war, and blow up things to have complex PTSD. You can just have a fracture in your emotional mental status that can produce the same things. So now
Yeah.
they're, they used to just say, well, it's just in military. And as time goes on, they're expanding it because they're seeing its effect more and more.
Yeah, and that was one of the things when we made A Murder in Mansfield. I was very adamant about like we need to talk about non-combat PTSD, because I think
Yeah.
we sort of convolute the two a lot, unfortunately, and obviously, we obviously service members do go through PTSD, but
Yes.
so many people who are triggered, who experience violence in society, or even coming from backgrounds of unstable backgrounds, right? Children of alcoholics, children of poverty, growing up in areas where there's less economic opportunity or diversity, or all those things I think contribute to that, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's what people need to see, that there's a lot more emotional fracturing going on out there than we've been giving it credit for. We've been trying to put it in a box, and it's way too big for a box. It's being sensitive to say it could be anyone, anywhere, in any way. And we need to go from just kind of blowing it off to saying this is a serious issue that can expand and get out of hand very quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that it's unfortunate when certain things like this become have to call our attention to something like this, right? And unfortunately, these things get swept under the rug in a matter of hours or minutes, and then we just forget about it and we move on, which is always which is also, not mind the pun, a casualty of war in a lot of ways.
Wait a minute. Let me help you with this. You ready?
Yeah.
What's the difference between a major operation in a hospital and a minor operation in a hospital?
Nothing, just money, probably.
Oh, no, I'll help you. When they operate on you, that's a minor operation.
Yeah.
When they operate on me, it's a major operation.
Mm.
That's very clear in this, Collier. See, everybody, if it's happening to them, it's a big deal. But if it's not happening to them, well, that's somebody else's issue. No, this subject is obviously a major operation that they have been covering up for years, and they're going to pay the price if they keep doing that.
Yeah, I think that and this is something that, again, I feel really passionate about, because I've talked about it so much on this program. But if we don't confront these things, and I'm not, again, I'm not even going to pretend I never served our country. And for those of you watching, thank you for your service. Who did serve our country.
Collier, listen to yourself. You don't have Collier, please. Don't say anything about the military, okay? Military is a percentage of PTSD.
Sure.
It is not, what you were gone through puts you in another percentile of PTSD. That's where people are mixed up. The only people who have PTSD who have been combat. That's hooey. That's not true.
Yeah.
If I've been in my life disrupted mentally / emotionally, then I'm a great candidate for PTSD.
That's a good point. I'm going to do a poll of the audience.
What?
I'm going to do a poll for the audience.
Yes, because I think if you look at people and make the issue in that coping, have they struggled with situations that they have not coped well with it? Wow. Mm-hmm. I think that the percentage you're going to see is going to go way up.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to say, well, I was always told it was this. Well, they may be wrong. It could be that they are suffering from PTSD and they're not legitimately working on that therapeutically to get better.
Yeah. That could make sense. As I was saying, though, I want to get back to this just specific because we're dealing with Matthew Livelsberger.
Yeah.
In the military. What are, in your practice over the years, have you dealt with this personally and talk to me about the sort of loss or dissociation that, for lack of a better word, that maybe these young men and women that come back that get thrown into these war zones, as we were talking about earlier off camera, that you've seen in your practice.
Right. I saw it very early in my practice because I was practicing in Georgia, where there was there's a military base there. And in that area, I was seeing people that, because of their military experience and a lot of emotionally charged people with PTSD issues, that I dealt with it within my practice during that time. And so it's important to, I guess the big thing when I first started, it was focused on the military. It's the military. So there was certainly a large crowd I worked with in the military. But as I've gone along in my practice, wow, so much greater that I'm seeing people come in, and as we process through their life and we see that within what's happened to them, their emotional state has fractured, boom, PTSD shows up.
Yeah, I see. By the way, I want to give a shout out to my cousin, or I guess second cousin. I don't know. Joe Ron is here in the chat. He's talking about my mother. He is a Master Chief, and you could put your classification. I know, as I said, I didn't serve, so I know very little about all the classifications in the military. But those of you that are watching, also, if you have a loved one, a friend, and want to give them a shout out who have served active military or a veteran in the chat, please feel free to do so. Okay, so back to this sort of, again, when these young individuals return, societally, what kind of pressures, when I think about, like, even in terms of just relationships, and I have been known to have, to put it mildly, very roller coaster style romantic relationships in my life.
It's easy to happen. It
is easy to. It seems to be very easy for me.
To have a healthy relationship, at the core, you have to have an emotional click.
Yeah.
To have a healthy. But wait a minute. What if I am fractured emotionally? How am I going to click with anybody? See, what I'm going to really take on is I'm going to look at what's done in the movies, and I'm going to then emulate that as my reality is what you see. And that's why so many go wrong, and what people say down the road is, well, you're not the person I married. You're not the person I got in the relationship with. You've changed. And the truth is, no, you haven't. They've just become more aware of your idiosyncrasies.
Oof.
So that's why getting good therapy, getting good coping skills, getting a good awareness of who you're bringing to the party raises the level of your success in a relationship of success.
So when these individuals come back from, when these individuals come back from serving,
okay,
I know, right? It's going down the wrong pipe. All the things that go, every time I start these lives, it's like I am prepared for hours, and then all of a sudden the doorbell rings, the Amazon guy comes, the dog starts barking and playing with a toy, somebody can't log online, and then I'm rush, and I'm sweating and all this, and I've been prepared for an hour. I talked an hour ago off camera. I'm like, hey, I'm just making the document, I'm uploading this, everything is good, it's calm, it never fails. And then I obviously can't drink water, so it goes down the wrong pipe. When they come back from dealing with these very high pressured situations, right, and then they come back to, like, and I want to say, I don't think it was it The Hurt Locker? Is that the film I'm thinking of with Jeremy Renner? Directed by James Cameron's wife. What was her name? She won that. Carol.
Mrs. Cameron.
Mrs. Cameron. No. God, what was her name? Catherine Bigelow. Catherine Bigelow.
Okay.
She won the Academy Award for it, I believe. And I remember Jeremy Renner, his character coming back from. I mean, he was a bomb technician. I mean, it doesn't get more high pressure situation than that, I think. And he comes back to like civilian life, and he ends up going back over there, to serve. That's sort of how the movie ends. Spoiler alert: if you haven't, it came out in 2009, so if you haven't seen it by now, sorry, but you should see it because it's a fantastic film.
It is a great movie. It is.
It was before Jeremy Renner was an Avenger. But in all seriousness, he comes back, and then he's so kind of addicted to the rush that he goes back over to serve after he's completed his service, because he just wants the rush, or wants to be like, it's so ingrained in who he is. So talk to me a little bit about when anyone, whether they're active military, whether the same could even be said about people who are incarcerated, right? Although a different situation of what has happened to them, they're still look, both are systems, right? Both are systems where you're told where to do, where to go, what to eat, when to eat, where to shit, where to go.
Well, what you got to look at is people come to what we would call a place of normalcy.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out how they operate. That's, growing up through the years and testing things out, you come to a place of, okay, this is what works for me. This kind of food I like. This kind of place I like. This is what I like driving. Okay. So I create within myself a picture of normalcy, and it works. And as long as I'm sticking with that, that's good. Okay. But if I come into a situation that causes my emotional structure to fracture, Katie barred the door, then all kinds of bad things can happen. And that was real. I'm glad you brought up the Hurt Locker, because that's probably one of the best scenes in the movie was when he was at the shopping grocery store. Just going through regular shopping. He's being a regular guy, regular structure, and then boom, everything hit.
Yeah.
And because there was a disconnect between him shopping and him being in combat, caused him to emotionally fracture. And so he had a heavy desire to get back to something that would make sense to him. And so that was a great example right there of that scene right there. I remember that and thought, boy, that really depicts how you fracture a person who has PTSD.
What are some symptoms that someone who's suffering from this, experience? Okay.
One of the things you see very quickly is high anxiety. Mm-hmm. That they just, everything is going to get them. Anything's going to come up. What about this? What about this? What about this? They are hyper focused on controlling the future, thinking that then will help them.
Now, is that sort of like a hypervigilance? Like they're, and is that like a trauma response?
Yeah, yes. And the thing is that it's not hypervigilance, it's hyper control. Okay. Vigilance is okay. I'm ready. I'm checking it. I'm going. Okay. But this is, I'm trying to create a world in which it, number one, makes sense to me. Okay. It makes sense that this is what's going on. Okay. So I'm then going to make decisions, say things, deal with things to make me feel in control. And obviously that's not doable. So when my mind figures out I'm not doing it, I then fracture at that point. And so you see a tremendous amount of anxiety within PTSD people, and a real large faction of the need to control the future in PTSD people.
Dr. Roger, you have a fan. Kitty Bean says, "I adore Dr. Roger."
all right. Hey,
Good on you.
Got something going there. Way to go.
Gen X to the seventh power says a lot of the retired Navy SEALs I know are heavy drinkers.
Right. When you say heavy drinkers, what you need to say is heavy medicators. Okay? Drinking is they're playing the role of junior doctor. They're trying to medicate their disruption emotionally. Okay.
So what do you mean? What do you mean?
Okay. See, what you see in people is a regular person who drinks, okay, I'm going to drink one, or I'll drink a couple, I'll drink and I feel a little tipsy. Okay.
Oh, sure. I mean, I'm somebody who has drinking problems. So, yeah.
This sake, when he's talking about, he knows the people that are heavy drinkers. What would be a better way to say that is, I know people that have been through situations that causes them emotional pain, and so they use alcohol, which is a chemical,
sure,
to medicate the disruption, the feelings or the memories causing them. And so they just keep upping the dosage, upping the dosage, upping the dosage. And then at some point, it's just part of their lifestyle. They're just going to drink and drink and drink. You know, like somebody says, I don't have a drinking problem. I drink, I get drunk, I pass out, no problem. That's kind of how they operate. And there's where it's very, and there's another real element. There is a lot of drinking and drugging in the military. So now you have them having a fractured emotional state. They're putting a lot of demands. They're living an odd life. And then in that, we're going to medicate them too. And wow, that doesn't sound like a formula for disaster, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
the sarcasm is coming all the way from South Carolina to Southern California.
Yeah. Let's take some gasoline and throw a lighter on it. Good idea. No. In common sense, it says explosion.
Yeah.
But that's what we're doing in all this. We're creating the gasoline lighter combination over and over again. Yeah, let's put people through this. Let's then put in alcohol in the middle of it, and let's see what happens. And it wouldn't be. I've got to be honest as a therapist. I'm surprised we don't see more cases like the Las Vegas situation. What a tragedy. What a tragedy. You know, but that's what I believe has happened. I believe it will continue to happen because we're not properly processing these people who have fractured emotions. And until we do that, we're going to see stuff like that, which is very sad.
I mean, it's you and I talked earlier. You know, you lived in New Orleans for a time, so the situation in New Orleans appears to be quite different, obviously. But maybe there are some similarities there that can be drawn because both were active military service members. I mean, Matthew Livelsberger was on leave from Germany when all this went on, and I believe this other gentleman, I can't remember his name, but the driver of also a pickup truck, right, into Bourbon Street was also active military from Texas, and was a sympathizer of obviously a terror organization, which had come to find out later. Wow. But again, maybe this sort of fractured.
Ooh, now I love it. I love it. You're getting it. Yeah.
This sort of
both fractured people. There's a similarity, Collier. There's a similarity. They are both emotionally fractured. And they've lived in a system that is very deadly. Okay. And so if you got a problem in the military, well, how do you solve it? Well, by force, by power, by blowing crap up. Yeah, no. See, and so they're fractured, and one is about emotional lostness, and the other one in their fracturedness is believing that the answer is in this belief system. Yeah, but they start out in the same place. They just go in different directions. They both have PTSD. They're both overloaded. They're both dysfunctional. And then, but the end is, how do you solve the problem? Boom. That's how you solve the problem. Throw the lighter on the gasoline. That's how you solve the problem. So they're on one end, it's real similar in its inception, where it started. You know, they were both people, like you said, 7 miles, 5 miles from where you went to school. Yeah, what you're basically saying, regular guy.
Regular guy. I
bet if we talked to his schoolmates, they go, yeah, we knew him. He was fine. You know, was he really odd? And I bet they said, no, he's just like everybody else. Yeah, that's what we have to understand. He was like everybody else. But you can take someone regular and create an environment that fractures them emotionally, and now things are not good.
And I want to point out, because we learned this the last couple of times from you. I would say normal, and you say regular, not normal, regular.
Right. Who's normal? What?
Yeah.
I don't fit that.
I am not. I am most certainly.
But I've found a system that works for Dr. Raj. That's it. I mean, that's it. And are there lots of people that would be around me and say, well, he's weird? Yeah. I mean, but what you have to look at is, what have you set up that creates a regularity for you? And if you do that, what's fascinating, Collier, you can be regular forever, till the end of your life. That's when we see people and we've just, kind of grabbed that word normal. No, there is no such thing as normal. But are there lots of people that regulate themselves through life? Yeah. Were they perfect? No. Did they mess up? Yeah. But were they able to, on a regular basis, stay within the box that they created? And if you say yeah, then that's an everyday guy. That's everyday woman. That's everyday people. But what we don't get is, there are some people that start there and situations happen, like in your life, that can fracture things.
Sure. Yeah.
And if I don't work to regulate it, then I may do something that is destructive. But if I wasn't in the military, I might not think bomb and blowing things up. I might not be, with that kind of expertise to use to be self-destructive, which is real sad.
Yeah, it is. Now, I want to say to the audience too, I just set YouTube has this new thing where you can set super chat goals. So I just set a super chat goal. We'll see if we get there or not. It might be a little ambitious, but I will sing a song request if we get to set 10 super chats. No,
there we go. Yes.
But it's a new thing that popped up, and I was like, I'll try this out. I mean, we'll see.
This is a podcast with Tom Jones, is what this is.
This what I mean. This is it's.
I love it. I love it. That's you. It's very you.
That's the thing is, I remember a friend of mine said last year, it's kind of stupid. You do the singing thing and you say, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, I stopped doing it because people were criticizing me. And then I was like,
hear this, Collier. If he did that, yes, that would be stupid. Okay. To me, when I hear you do it, I think regular. Oh yeah, that's
regular.
If you were sitting at a coffee shop and Collier was being Collier, would he break out in the song? And my thought is, oh yeah,
Yes.
that's Collier.
I've been on dates recently with a girl, and she said, I wish you would randomly sing to me. One of these days, I hope you would randomly sing to me in the thing. And I mean, it just like, don't say those things.
Okay,
because I have no shit. Because
all right, but okay,
I have no shame.
You ready for Collier? You ready for here a therapist evaluation of Collier in movies? You ready? La La Land.
La La, amen. What a brilliant film.
And they were talking, blah, 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 blah.
And you don't know how many times when I'm sitting on that 110 overpass.
Yes.
On the freeway, thinking to myself, it would be fantastic to get out of your car as we're sitting here stopped, suspended 100 feet over another freeway, and get out and just have a day musical dance number.
That is in the Collier box. That is in the Collier box, and I love that. Yeah, that makes very, very much you. But everybody who's not you, I bet that's a little different.
Now we'll keep track of them because I think it only let me set it as $5 or higher. But if we get to, I'll just clarify. If we get to 10 super chats, I'll do this. I'll do the thing. It doesn't have to be the $5. It doesn't have to. I think that's YouTube gets greedy. YouTube gets greedy.
I'm glad you get to it. Yeah, let's get to it. But I'm saying, don't care if you get there. The show's always better if you break out. When we're in an episode of La La Land.
We're in an episode of La La Land. I like that. That makes me happy. Does the teal super sticker? I don't get it. I think I have to I don't know if I can adjust the whole thing. I don't know. Can you adjust this?
You're going high tech, Collier. So, buddy.
Remove goal. I don't know. Remove goal. Okay, we have 4 super chats. Right? Hold on. 1, 2, 3. We have 5 super chats. Oh no, we got. Yeah, I don't. Oh, here we are. Okay, yeah, I don't know why it won't let me modify it. I'm learning, guys. This is a new thing that just happened. Buddy. But thank you, True Crime Lullabies. Thank you, Cat Loves Catskills. Thank you, Karen Fan. Thank you, Amber Winnell. Thank you, Sarah Holman. Thank you, Nez T. Thank you guys so much.
Yes. All the better. And I guarantee you, they're all waiting for that episode of La La Land to show up in this PTSD deal. Something to break the moment, because PTSD, wow. You talk about a heavy subject. That's a heavy subject.
But here's the thing, man, is, just to keep it real, music was how I coped with my circumstance. That was music and art, but music in particular, and singing, to be spot on specific, was how I coped with my life growing up. You know what I mean? So it to me, this is just, I guess, naturally part of the discussion. You know what I mean? That just sort of fits, because that was my coping mechanism, right? Growing up. Right.
And if you grew up in Oklahoma like I did, football.
There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow.
Show, you'd be running down the sideline singing, but
the sun is as high as a golden eye, and it's greater than clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I got a very good feeling that everything is going my way. Right? That's Oklahoma. That's Oklahoma, right?
You would love living in Oklahoma, because before every football game, they sing Oklahoma.
Do they really?
They really do. I can remember when I moved to Illinois and I asked what the state song was. They all looked at me and said, "What state song?" I said, "Well, the one you sing before every football game." They said, "We don't sing anything before a football game." And I realized, wow, they don't. But all growing up in Oklahoma, Oklahoma, where the wind comes, that's no football game starts without the crowd singing that. And there you'd be there with the band leading them.
Sooner football, man, that's a serious thing. Well, of course, I grew up in Ohio, so Ohio State, hey,
You
we
serious?
won. I don't understand the college football playoffs, so I gotta tell you what, like I was asking my dad this the other day. I was like, yeah, explain to me how this whole thing works, because I didn't understand. There's like these brackets, and it's like I thought you play at the Rose Bowl, you play at the Sugar Bowl. Okay, and I guess it's just evolved so much. And I'm somebody who didn't pay attention to college sports for a really long time, mostly because of boycotting it, because I didn't like the fact that they didn't get paid, and now they do, thank God, and that's amazing. Now it's like
more money is what
I'll tell you what. Now it's like I look at some of these NFL, like now they come to the NFL and they're like taking a pay cut to come to the NFL, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, like, that would suck.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to what we were saying. We got a little lighthearted. Nice little break there.
Sometimes you just have to break. You got to have a song in the middle of something to kind of get you back in the zone.
Well, it just said we were at 7 out of 10, and now it says 5 out of 10. What is that? I don't understand this. Like, this is ridiculous. YouTube, come on. YouTube's like, yeah.
Oh, rough stuff.
Oh yeah, country roads. Somebody said country. Oh yeah, okay. That might be a yes. All right. We'll add that to the list. I gotta just what I'm gonna have to do is
no, that's not Glenn Campbell, but what's his name? Who died in the
John Denver.
John Denver, yes. Yeah, that's a Denver song.
That it is.
So now we've gone from Roger and Hammerstein, Oklahoma, to John Denver, Country Roads. Ooh, buddy. And a little Neil Diamond mixed in there. So we've got the whole scale.
Country roads take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads.
There we go. Yeah. Just had to have all your moment.
Right?
Tension release. Okay, I'll bet.
Country roads take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, country roads take me home. Yeah, we got a little higher the register. Anyways, back to what we were talking about.
Yes.
Complex PTSD. We were talking about this situation with Matthew Livelsberger.
Right.
Discuss the Hurt Locker. Discuss this. What are some ways that
one thing I want to share with you.
Sure.
That was not him in Las Vegas. Okay. That was not him. That was not the boy that grew up 7 miles from where you went to school. See people, he did, and he went back. No. He broke. Okay, it's like you had a vase of glass and you dropped it. It would go in a million pieces. It would no longer be that vase. That was him mentally, and so no, that it was not the same. He was at a place of being emotionally broken and overwhelmed.
It's interesting you said it wasn't him, because there was over the last couple of days, which is why I haven't really covered it until today to sort of like wait for the dust to settle. But there was massive conspiracy theories about it not being him. And then there was a DNA. He had a child last year, which is very unfortunate. I believe he was also married or was divorced. I can't remember, but there's now a child involved who's very, very young, who's lost a father. And they were trying to say there was a DNA and it wasn't him, and this, that, and the other. There's lots of conspiracy theories. Apparently he wrote a letter alleging some stuff too, that these things that, like, you talk about gasoline and matches or a lighter, like the internet gets a hold of these things and it's just like
okay. Now you're gonna love. I'm gonna make a musical reference here, Collier.
Go ahead.
Okay? There once was a song called Lunatic Fringe in rock.
Lunatic Fringe?
Lunatic Fringe. And that's where we are today with the internet. We have given voice to the lunatic fringe.
and it appears to be on. It's all, in my opinion. I always say this, and I try not to get political, but is on very much on both sides, and there's a lot of people initially drawing speculation that it was a Tesla truck. It was in front of the Trump hotel. And apparently this guy was a big Trump supporter, and he come out and said, he appreciated what Trump had done for the military. And then of course, I was listening to CNN right before we did the show. So I was kind of like, oh, I want to get some other things that, some other facts or whatever.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, I'm listening to CNN, never mind. Or I'm listening to mainstream media, never mind. So it was like, they're all just, it's a dying industry in my opinion, but which is why we're here on YouTube, right?
There we go. Hey, yeah.
Why we're talking about it here.
We're doing regular.
We're doing regular information, but it's interesting to see them trying to frame it into like, oh, well, there's the coincidence that it's Tesla and then the Trump hotel, and then there's other people suggesting that it's this other situation, and then they're like, well, he was a Trump supporter, he was this, and it's just, for me, it's like, I don't give a shit. I care about this person.
Yes,
who's in pain.
But Collier, that person's gone.
Who
that
did you know what I mean?
Is gone by that time.
Of course.
Mentally who he was had been so fractured and so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
That what we were seeing was a reaction to the pain. What we saw in Vegas was a reaction to the pain. Now, if you're saying that, okay, good. Now you're right on the zone. But him, at some point in the process, way before the explosion, was gone. That boy that went to school 7 miles from you, know that he was not there anymore. He was gone. He had fractured.
Is there a way to recognize that fracture in someone? Is there a way, I think a lot of times when we see this, right, and you see this in I think this is one of the reasons why people are so interested in true crime to begin with,
right?
Or crime in general. Is like, well, what were the warning signs? Like, people will say that to me with my father. Were there warning signs? What were the warning signs? What was going on? And a lot of people, do this because they want to be, they want to be informed, whether for their own personal safety, whether they're just for their own personal knowledge, but like, what could I do to prevent this or prevent this happening to me or a loved one? Are there warning signs a lot of times?
Are you ready for this? Okay. You have got to, it's exactly like what's happened in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, for addiction. Okay.
Yeah.
Where are there AA meetings?
Everywhere.
Which day is it on?
Every day, 24 hours a day.
Now you understand right there, Collier. There it is. When we make PTSD an element of AA and have meetings where people can process and go and get a sponsor and work on it and talk about it and not stigmatize it, but process it to where, are they ever going to be cured? No. Is an alcoholic ever going to be cured? No. But can they find and embrace recovery? And the answer is yes. Could he, within that if he had that process available, that screen to catch him, could he then have come to the place of working through to a element of recovery to regulate his life and move on? Yeah. But it's got to be, for America, it's really got to be that it's another level of AA, only it would be PTSD.
Hey, maybe I'll be Call W.
Oh, buddy, yes.
We'll go from Bill W to Call L, and then Call L.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hopefully conveying the scope of the issue out there. I really want to say, would I put it against alcoholism in America? Yes.
Yeah.
How did they deal with that? That there was not always an AA,
There wasn't. No, absolutely not.
Are we saying people didn't have an issue with alcohol before 45 or whenever it started.
Yeah, like 1942 or something like that, or maybe something like
And
that. Yeah.
you gotta be kidding me, man. No, but they came to a place where they said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to set up a structure and we're going to spread it out and where it's every day, every place, and that it is available to everybody. And we're going to have hotlines where you can call, and we're going to tell you where the next meeting close to you is going to be. And so you go there. And if you go there, it will get you into the system. And if you work the system, will you be cured? No. But will you get into recovery and create a regular life? Are there people that were lost in alcoholism who then went through the system, regulated their life, and are living well today? Collier, you and I know that's true.
Sure.
That's
yeah.
true. It happens every day. But it doesn't happen for everybody. No. But it happens for a lot more than when it was never out there. You know, is there 100% success, Dr. Raj? No. No. Okay. But there's a whole lot more success. Say, we can't be thinking, well, I don't want to do PTSD unless I can get 100% success. Well, no. Then that's why people, they it seems overwhelming, they just give up or they make excuses for it, because sending people out in the middle that would fracture their emotional state is a way of making money for some people. So they do that.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that as a therapist, as a clinical psychologist or psychologist, because obviously there is therapy for that people do, talk therapy, traditional, and while actually you're the expert. As I say, no, let me say it again.
I'm not the expert
it's the mantra of the show.
Collier, I'm not the expert of you. I'm not the expert. I'm just the person who is aware of an area of information that I bring forward and talk about. Information that came from a book and information that came from seeing clients over and over again. And so I just tell it like I see it. People ask me all the time, Collier, what kind of therapist are you, Dr. Rhoades? And I said, well, I'm a duck therapist. And people say, a duck therapist? I said, yeah, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it swims like a duck, to me, it's a duck.
Yeah.
And so very simple terms, but there are some people that, want to, get everything and ethereal and in the middle, la, la. And all of a sudden, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to be able to read your mind. I'll tell you, in my entire life, I have never met someone who could genuinely read a mind of anybody else, ever. Now, what happens is, like, people go, I can read my husband's mind. That's a fib. You can't read your husband's or your girlfriend's or whomever's mind.
God, if I could, I'd be the richest man in the world.
Well, you'd be higher.
I'd have more money than a sheikh, sitting on billions of barrels of oil.
Exactly, because it's not possible. It's not possible. You can't do it. Okay. We don't know what we don't know. The only way we know anything is we ask.
Mm-hmm.
We are curious, and we shut our mouth and we open our ears. That's how you get information. And through information, you come up with stuff. But when people say they can read their spouse's mind, what they really means is that they've been around someone and they picked up their habits.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to be with someone enough to know, this is a habit and this is a habit and this is the way they do it? Yeah, that's not reading mind. That's identifying habits. It's a whole different issue. So what you want to know, if you're with somebody in a relationship, what you want to do is get good at asking questions and keeping your mouth shut. two of the big number one, number two of great relationship is people who ask questions and keep their mouth shut. Once they ask, I want to know what's going on. I can't read your mind. I'm not going to get into a game of reading your mind. See, and that's kind of, and I love how you say it within crime stuff. People want to, they want to keep playing that. I'm going to read them. I want enough information, and I believe if I get enough information on someone, I'll know the reason they did stuff. No,
look, I was just on the show on Oxygen about my story with my mother and father and everything, and they brought on a psychologist to analyze, to not only analyze my father but also to analyze me as a child and to sort of break it down. And I'm thinking to myself, okay. But you're talking to me, you're interviewing me in the show, and not that I, I'm going to have this is Dr. Michelle Ward. She's very respected. I'm going to have her on. I'm going to have her on this show. She's super cool. But it's like for me, I always feel, and I felt this growing up very strongly. Like I want to hear from me. I want to hear from the person. You know what I mean? What went through or was dealing with this, not an outsider's opinion or analysis of that. I think the thing that makes that sort of difficult to achieve is that many people who have been through these types of things don't want to talk about it, don't want to bring the issues to light, don't want to have a discussion, don't want to sit here and go back and forth.
Said, I want you, the audience, to recognize that I believe you said what pure therapy was. And what I heard from you, Collier, is I wanted to hear from me. That's what therapy should be able to do, is set up an environment where you could hear from you, and I, as a therapist, can be a fly on the wall for that experience. You telling you and me picking up on it.
Yeah.
And then us together seeking a solution. That's the real therapy. But us kind of trying to play mind readers and tell you what the facts are, even though it doesn't fit your narrative, that's not therapy. That's control. And it doesn't play well. People don't like it.
My little thing went down.
Oh no! Wait a minute! We got to get it back up.
Good. No, we're getting it. We're good now.
I don't care.
Oh snap! It just went. Oh snap! I want to ask you a little bit about. I want to read a little bit of this of Matthew Livelsberger's quote, manifesto. But then I want to ask you, just to prompt you before that. I want to ask you about EMDR therapy and how that works. But let me go through this a little bit, because this was something, and this is from Newsweek, the bastion of journalism that is Newsweek. But Livelsberger allegedly sent an email to retired U.S. Army intelligence officer Sam Shumate, detailing concerns about advanced drones using GDIC propulsion systems, which he described as anti-gravity technology. In the email, this was on the Sean Ryan podcast. Okay. This is what somebody was messaging, that Livelsberger had claimed that the U.S. and China had deployed the drones, and he alleged these. Now, this is relating back to this drone thing. I don't know if you had followed this. It was going on earlier, in New Jersey and in New York and all this, and even over Ohio, over Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is arguably, I think, the largest Air Force base in the world, but I might be mistaken on that. Livelsberg also referenced involvement in a U.S. airstrike in Nimruz province in Afghanistan. He claimed the operation, which targeted narcotics facilities, caused civilians casualties, including women and children, and was covered up by U.S. authorities. One of the things that, after it says here, is the manifesto real? After the alleged manifesto began circulating on social media, following the podcast, reporters asked Las Vegas police and the FBI at a press conference if the suspect had written it. Authorities said they believe the letter shared by Sean Ryan was authored by Matthew Libberger. And it said something to the effect of, in case I do not make it to my decision point or to the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until 1st of January. Keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under arrest or hostile or influence of or control. My first car was a 2006. So he's obviously identifying himself. He talks about the drones in China and all this, and I won't get into the speculation. Maybe I'll do another video about this, but you know, for vetting purposes, my name is Matt Berg or Matthew Livelsberger, an active duty 18Z out of 110. My public profile, I have an active TSSC1 or CI with UAP and USAP access. So he obviously identifying himself, but why do you think that, you know, somebody who is, why do you think he would expose this information? I mean, I'm not, as I said, I'm not going to get into all of this, but, and how this plays into his decision, if you were to hypothesize or speculate, or you can just be like, I don't want to speculate on this.
The real answer there, Collier, is I don't know.
Got it.
That would be the real answer. And
yeah,
that number one. Number two is the real guy didn't write that. You know, he was already fractured.
The fracture.
Okay. Number three is, I love the idea that if you ever see anything that is a major news story, it is a diversion from what's really going on that's important somewhere else. That's what the whole thing is drones. And so everybody's focused on that. And man, there's all kinds of abuse, sex trafficking and everything else going on, but we're really not talking about that.
Yeah.
We'd rather talk about the drones in New Jersey. Really? Come on now. See, and that's where it is. You know, that people.
It's a sleight of hand. Look over here. Look over here.
Yes. It's a media sleight of hand. It's a media sleight of hand. And people that are much higher, much more intelligent, much more capable, do I believe is doing that stuff? Yeah. But we don't find out about it till 10 years later. It's like, oh wow, so this was going on. Well, that wasn't made known. Well, does that mean nobody knew? No, there were people who knew, but they didn't tell anybody because it did not benefit them. It was not to their financial or power structure benefit. Yeah. So that, you know, it's very sad. At the bottom line, the real idea here is we are creating a system that breaks people emotionally. Okay? Yeah. Not only are people broken emotionally just by living regular life, sure, we set up a system in which it crashes people. I heard, here's a great thing: the Navy SEALs, where they decide who's in and who's not. I talked to
like the Hell Week and all that. Yeah, I've had friends who were. Which, by the way, like the SWCs have to go through this training too. The gunners on the boats, they have to go through the same SEAL training, but they're not SEALs. So it's no joke. No joke.
What I heard, which was amazing, Collier, was the objective of the training was to drive those people crazy, and the least crazy are the ones that make it. If there's any way to make that, all we're going to try to do from beginning to end is to fracture them. That's the objective of SEALs training, fracturization. And I believe that's the agenda of the military, to fracture people, to make them, you know, usable in a system of doing things that in their regular life they wouldn't do, and make that their regular structure. And then when we try to put them back into their everyday normal structure, they have no culpability with that. They're not able to cope with that. It's too much.
Yeah. I guess you could argue that you know, not to divert on another topic, but you could also argue that social media does that too, fractures us as well. Yeah,
the lunatic social media, they ought to play before all social media, lunatic fringe. That's what it is. It's the lunatic fringe. It's giving voice to people 20 years ago had no voice. that there was maybe a person in Nebraska and a person in Kansas and a person in Colorado, a person in South Carolina, separately, not a big deal. Let's say they each had a emotional firecracker, but when you bring them all together, that fringe out there, and give it a voice, it's dynamite. Boom, and it goes off big. And that's what social media allows. It brings the lunatic fringe. It's a connector for the lunatic fringe.
Didn't think about it that way. Yeah, we're giving, now everybody has a way to communicate and a voice.
Yes.
Didn't have that.
Well, they didn't.
Really good point.
See, think about this, Collier. Think about how your internal power changes when you're in a group and in a size of a group. In other words, if you're in a small group, you have a little bit of power. But wait a minute, what if it's think about Taylor Swift? Oh my goodness, how power! Oh, Swifties, power! See, that's what we've not seen up until lately. Those dynamics out there, and so it's very important for, like in anything, it's like if you want to have a healthy body, you eat the right food. If you want to exercise, you exercise in a particular way that's best for you. Okay, and that when people consume consciously and with I'm trying to think of where I hate when I'm trying to bring up a word and I can't think of it. Discernment.
Uh-huh.
The people that we're going to see that are going to lead this world down the road are going to be discerning people. They're going to have to discern. They're going to have to create within themselves an emotional filter and filter out the stuff that they believe to be crap and hold on to the things that they feel to be real. And that's going to separate people right there.
Kristen H says that I know that song Lunatic Fringe. She's heard me. She said, you've heard it. Trust me.
Oh God,
that song Lunatic. I cannot pull it out of my head, but
late 60s, early, Lunatic Fringe. Yeah, it was a popular song, but it's like a one-hit wonder. It's only the only hit I think that crowd ever had. But it when I heard that, I thought, man, there is a great description of what is going on there, because it's the fringe.
By the way, I asked our poll. We have 86 votes.
Yeah.
Do you like? Do you either personally or through another deal with the effects of PTSD in your life? And an overwhelming 77% said yes.
Yeah, there we go. Say, oh, wait a minute.
And did everyone smash that like button, by the way?
Think of that. 77%.
Yeah.
That's way over half of people. Wow. That they're telling you by the statistic there, Collier, of the fact.
Yeah.
It's out there. And so what I hear in that is, man, it's hard to be regular. That is a feat. To get up and to show up and to do the doable. Ooh, buddy.
Song by the Canadian rock band Red Rider from their 1981 album, As Far as Siam. The song reached number 11 on the rock radio airplay charts.
There we go. It should be the theme song
of social media.
Yeah.
So I teased it before. I want to talk to you a little bit about EDMR.
MDR.
I was thinking EDM because I was thinking music. So EDM. No, EMDR therapy, and how that works for someone who has gone through, who is experiencing symptoms of PTSD. Does that work?
For some, 100%. It is a system that a person came up with that is, watch this, it's a regulator. It helps people regulate by doing certain touching and talking in a particular way allows people within that. What's amazing is within the brain and the neutrons and how it all works. It by going through it, it regulates it. It's kind of like, I would say, if you're trying to find a program, in the old days when you were trying to find a program on the radio, you would move the dial to get the best signal. That's what it is. You're moving the dial to get the best signal, and the best signal would be regulation.
But it's with like flashing lights, correct? I've never done it. People have told me, people have asked me, have I done it?
Touching is another.
Touching?
Ways of that things are said in a certain tone, a certain way.
Okay.
But for some people, it rocks the world. But is it a cure-all? No. Are there lots of people that go through it, doesn't do anything? Yes. But
like I've known people that have gone through it, several people who've gone through it, and it doesn't seem to have necessarily, they keep going back and doing it. And I'm kind of like, I mean, I know people have also done ayahuasca and that they've done it. They've done it once.
Hey.
And it had the effect. I had a friend who was a heroin addict and did it and never touched heroin again.
Doing the dumb crap. We don't miss people. There's a plethora of people who regularly do over and over for dumb crap, and for people who can monetize that, that's wealth. That's wealth. Here I get them hooked on this. Take honey. I'm going to sell honey, and take honey, and honey will do it. And man, they're just honeyites, and buddy, and they'll get up and say it's cured everything I have, but no, did it help them? I'm not doubting that it didn't. Did it do great things for them? I'm not doubting that either. But will it work for everybody? I've never seen anything, Collier, that works for everybody. If it worked and it worked first time, the people who were doing it would be out of business. You can't make Mercedes Benz payments on something that works one time.
It's very, very true.
Right. It's about you never want to get to fixed. You never want to get to cured. You want to get to working on it. Get to working on it, stay on working on it, and keep doing the working on it until they are poor.
Donietta asked, she said, question for Dr. Rhoades, please.
Yeah.
Have any veterans had their amygdala, fear center in the brain, removed because they cannot cope with the acute fear they imagine they are in? Is that something that's even possible? I mean, I'm not a neurosurgeon.
If it is, Collier, have there been somebody out there that's done that? Yes. Is it a regular practice? No. Is it something that would be what would be considered normalized treatment? No. But would I believe, are people willing to try anything to come up with the secret sauce? Yeah. We'll do this. This will be the secret sauce. I've heard that my whole entire life. This will be it. This will be it. This will be it. There's no secret sauce. If there is a secret sauce, it's creating and maintaining a regular life. That would be, to me, the secret sauce.
Do people who are often PTSD survivors, do they often take on, and I'm going to include myself into this because I sort of know the answer.
Yes, you're mentally ill, and we need to work on that. That's why we keep doing this. This is free therapy for you.
No, but do they often take on more than they can handle? Do they often sort of put themselves in a I tend to a lot of times overwork myself.
Oh yeah, because wait a minute, you need to get a piece of paper, okay, a blank piece of paper. Here, I'll do it for you, Collier. This is what you need to do. Can you see that? see if I can get it on.
No, hold on. Yeah, there we go. Okay,
What letter does that look like?
C.
Right, that's for control. That's what
Got
you're
it.
doing. You think you can fix it with control, Collier? No, you can't.
Got it. I'm gonna lick my
Right.
pencil here
But
and
a
go.
big
Okay,
C,
make
and
my
every time
big.
you're feeling overwhelmed,
And that's
see,
not a very good C.
you need to pull back the accelerator of your life. Whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, that's your body saying, gear down, gear down.
There we go.
The
The big C.
right, and say, I whenever I'm overwhelmed, that's what I'm focused on. The big C, the big control. Ooh, so many people that are doing so unwell are ruled by control. And it is a monster. It's fun. It's great to start off with, and it creates achievement to start off with, but it becomes an untamed beast that devours everything in your life: your marriage, your job, your income, everything.
Says fear speeds up the body, so slowing down is key.
But good, right? And move. And all I would say to that person is, cross out fear, put control through.
Control through fear.
Right.
I should be writing down notes. Good thing we're recording this for YouTube.
Well, let me tell you, I'll send you a bill. This is not for free.
I swear, this is what I wanted to talk about this thing, but now we're into this whole other conversation.
That's what we do, Collier. This is us. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
Us, we are not. When we get together, Collier, we never have drawn a straight line. No, and in a podcast, no, we're wiggly. We're wiggly because that's what life is. Life is squiggly. It has this and this, and I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this. That's real life. And so what we're conveying to people is this a serious subject? Yes. Is it possible to just focus on that? Is it regular to focus on something intensely for an entire podcast? No. At some point, you're going to need relief. You go, and that's where Collier.
That's where La La Land comes in. So I guess now we got to take some requests as promised. We did hit our super chat goal, by the way, even though YouTube didn't give us credit, we hit our super chat goal. So
Okay.
we gotta take some requests.
Yes.
I can sing a few bars of all these different songs. We'll see how they I think some people are
ask for you to sing Lunatic.
Okay, hold on. Here we go. We got our first one. I know it sounds funny, but I just can't stand the pain. Girl, I'm leaving you tomorrow. Seems to me, girl, you know I've done all I can. I can't. Oh, hold on. Here we go. Hold on. I screwed it up. I screwed it up. I thought I had it from memory.
Okay.
I know it sounds funny, but I just can't stand the pain. Girl, I'm leaving you tomorrow. It seems to me, girl, you know I've done all I can. You see, I begged, stole, and I borrowed. Yeah, oh, so why I'm easy like Sunday morning.
Richie.
That's why I'm easy. I'm easy like Sunday morning. There you go.
There it is. I love it.
I gotta just pull up the lyrics, you know.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I thought I could take it from memory, but I can't. I'm not gonna try to do that again.
Yeah, you've got lane. It's the big deal is finding the lane and doing what it takes to stay in the lane. Find the lane, do what it takes to stay in the lane. If you're with somebody, see if you can get them on the same highway as you. If you can, that's called a good romance.
Yeah, it is. It is. Better than Lady Gaga's Bad Romance. All right, man. Dr. Raj, thank you so much for joining the program.
It's an experience. It is an experience every time.
And I want to point out that this time around, obviously your grandkids aren't upstairs playing the whatever, the PlayStation 5 and the Netflix and all the things on the internet, because we had perfect reception. I see you got your ring light going. It was fantastic. So thank you so much. It was good to have you on the program. Everybody loves you so much, and we're going to dial in your.
And this is in the Southwest, Collier, we'd say this is mucho funo.
It is mucho funo for sure. By the way, are you frozen over there? Are you frozen over there, or what's going on?
It is cold. I went to school in Illinois. I thought moving to South Carolina, I'd gotten away from this crap. It found me. I do not like deep cold. I'm not a big guy. I like the warmth. So I'm going to hold my breath. It's going to get warm again. I live in the South. Woohoo! Yay!
It just warmed up today in Santa Monica. It was 72 degrees. Not to brag or anything like that, but this is the thing.
That's a lie.
I'm from Ohio, and it's been like 42 degrees in the morning, and I'm fully acclimated to the California weather.
Yeah.
So I do not like cold. I do not like it, and I realize I'm spoiled, but it's also a different kind of cold out here because. When you go back and you see snow, your brain goes, oh, it's cold.
Yeah.
Here, when it's like it's sunny outside and there's this, but I'm freezing. It doesn't make any. It fractures you. It fractures you.
There you go. See, now you're thinking. I love it. So we go. Hey, this is a place we're doing free therapy right here.
It fractures you. Anyways, Dr. Roger Rhoades, where can my audience find you?
Okay, at Dr. Roger Rhoades, all lowercase, at gmail.com is my email address, and that's the way to find me.
Yeah, and you have no social media, right?
No, I mean I'm so low tech. I'm an old dude, so I'm working on that, Collier. I'm working on, getting with it, but
But you know what? You know what? By not having any social media, you're not part of the lunatic fringe.
Oh, I mean, hey, good. And you know what? What I know, Collier, is between now and the next time we talk, you're going to find that song and hear it.
Oh, I got it right here. I would play it, except I'll get copyright struck by YouTube, and it'll stuck.
Right. So you play it and tell me, and tell yourself, or email me and say, yeah, Dr. Rhoades, I remember that song.
As soon as the show is done, that's the first thing I'm gonna do is play this song. I'm gonna be like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm sure I've heard this.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've heard this. Well, Dr. Raj, I'll have you on again. As you know, this is our first one of the year. Well, we're 5 days into the year, and we've had a great one. It's been fantastic. So I greatly appreciate you being here, and we'll bring you back on very, very soon, my friend.
Let me know, and I'll be right here, and we'll jump on the train again.
Yeah, and hang out for a second because it's going to upload after I remove you from the session.
Okay.
I want to say thank you so much to my guest, Dr. Roger Rhoades, for joining the program. Also, I want to, look, for those of you who have joined the show and are catching it. Whether you're catching it for the first time, whether you discovered me this weekend in Murder in America on the podcast, or whether you discovered me here on YouTube, thank you guys for being here so much. I know that there was a lot of tough discussions today in the show that some of you might be experiencing as discussing complex PTSD or dealing with a veteran or being a veteran yourself who are going through issues. If you're struggling with any mental health issues, or find yourself in crisis, there will be links in the show notes of today's episode, especially on the audio version of this podcast, where you can find resources that will be valuable for you, as well as on my website. Go to collierlandry.com. I believe it's collierlandry.com/resources, where we have resources in all 50 states across this great country of ours, where you can find help and assistance in these matters, because it's something that's very important to me. And as we start the new year, I want to remind you guys of that. So Mover Nation, thank you very much for being here. I do want to display one more time. This show is dedicated to the memory of Matthew Livelsberger, who unfortunately decided to make a decision to take his life in a way. And I want to, as I said, he graduated high school not too far from me growing up, and he was, for all intents and purpose, a true American hero who unfortunately, for whatever reason, felt that this country had turned its back on him, and that society had turned its back on him. And I feel that that's a real shame. So on that note, Mover Nation, I love all of you. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, I like to say, please be kind to one another. I'll see you on the next. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support today's program, please click the links in the description of the show notes of today's episode. And if you like this video, check out this one right here or this one right here. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because it helps with the algorithm. On that note, I'm Collier Landry. I'll see y'all on the next one. Good girl, Marisol. Good girl.